Okay, so now we're going to go and do a different search. We're going to hover search residential, and we're going to go to the make your own search. This will give us the ability to build our own search. Now we can do this from any property type. When you come into the make your own search, you'll notice that it has just property type and status, and then you just add your fields from here. Now we could have from the default search added any fields that we wanted to as well. It doesn't make any difference which one you're on. So we're going to go ahead and satisfy the requirement. Remember, we have to put in a status. So I'll just go ahead and select active and then tab on out of there. And then down here in the lower left, it says add fields, and this is where you can select from all of the fields that you can search. I'm going to go ahead and click that, and that opens up a box where I can type in the name of the field. Now you notice you do have an arrow which opens up a list of all of the field choices. The only time I would use this is if you can't remember the name of the field and you're trying to remind yourself what it is. Otherwise, down here in the box, all you have to do is type the first 3 letters of the field it is you want, and it'll narrow down that list for you, so you're not wasting your time scrolling up and down the list. So let's go ahead and add some fields. If we want school district, we would type SCH. And you see that narrows down the list for us. At that point, we would click on school district. Then we'd click this button right here that says add field. When you do that, you'll visually see it add the field up here. And then you can go ahead and enter in your school district. And then we'll come back down here. We'll add bedrooms, so we'll type BED. If we're interested in 3 or more bedrooms, we would choose number of bedrooms. And then we'll choose add, and we'll type in the number that we want. If we want price, we'll type in PRI. The name of the field is list rent price. That does confuse some people. We're in residential, so that would be considered list price. If we were searching leasing, that would be rent price. So the programmers just combined those 2 fields together. So I'm going to choose it. I'm going to click add. It adds it up there. Type in my parameters. Okay, let's say your client wants the master bedroom downstairs. I'm going to type MAS for master bedroom, and I'm going to choose the field master first bedroom and add, and then the pull down, I can choose level 1. Now, if you're not familiar with the fields and the name of the fields and the criteria choices, you need to have your property data form handy. That's the document that gets filled out whenever a person takes a listing. And then you can refer to that if you're looking for something specific. Remember, all of the forms can be found on the main screen under Forms and Contracts, and that one would be under the section MLS Specific Forms, and it's called Property Data Form. We get calls where people are looking for horses permitted, gated access, in-law plan, various things like that. All of those are on that property data form, and that's criteria that falls under specific fields, but you've got to know the name of the field. So just have one of those handy, and that'll help you do your search. Okay, once you get all of your fields on there and all of your criteria entered, at any time you can click on results or details and go to the same screen that you typically do and look at the results. If you want to save the search, though, you would click right here on the green toolbar, Save Search. Anytime you're on the criteria screen, whether it's the default system search or this, the make your own search, you can save the search. So to save it, you click Save Search, and it opens up and it requires you to name it. You can name it whatever you want. You're the one who has to remember what it is. Typically, people name it the client's name. Again, up to you and whatever rhyme or reason makes sense to you. So you name it and you save it. And it lets you know that it's saved. Okay, Now, I'm going to go back to the home page. Now, let's say you come in tomorrow and you want to retrieve that search. There's two different locations where you can find that saved search. If you hover search, remember you can hover on the property type where you saved it, and the flyout will have all of your saved searches. Or when you hover search, you can go down to the search manager, and the search manager contains all of your saved searches. That's typically the easiest, quickest way to get to your saved searches. When you come into the search manager, all of your searches are listed. Okay. If you have a bunch of searches, like I do, rather than scrolling through them to find the one you need, right up here on the green toolbar, you can click in the white box and you can just start typing the name of the search, and that will narrow down the list for you. And then you can click on the search and it would take you to it. And of course, at that point, you can edit it or look at the results, whatever you want to do from there. Okay, I'm going to go to the residential default system search and show you a couple functionality items. I'm going to go ahead and enter in a status just to meet the requirement. Now, as we're looking at the different fields over in the left-hand column, you notice they just look like fields on the screen. But if there's criteria in the field, or if you hover on the field, a little word pops up after each field name. It's a link, and it's called an operator. These operators can make or break your search. So we're going to talk about how they function and what you can do. As subdivision, you see it says contains. For years in our other system, if you were to type Forest Ridge in the subdivision field, you wouldn't get any properties in the Forest Ridge subdivision. And that caused some frustration. But the reason why you couldn't is because the subdivision field in our old system meant subdivision starts with Forest Ridge. And Forest Ridge doesn't start with Forest Ridge. It's the Highlands at Forest Ridge, Stanford Landing at Forest Ridge. It's a bunch of little subdivisions combined, and it's a bunch of words at Forest Ridge. So in here, you notice your operator, we have it defaulting to contains. We've defaulted all of the operators to what you typically search. So if I come in here and I type Forest Ridge, it's going to pull up the results because it defaults to subdivision contains rather than subdivision starts with. But all of the operators, you can modify them. Like I mentioned, they're a link. So you just click it, it opens up a pull down, and then you can make a modification from there. Now, I always tell people in class, if one of the options doesn't make sense to you, don't pick it. All right, you would only pick the ones that seem logical to you. An example of what you may change it to, let me go ahead and clear Forest Ridge out, is let's say you're looking for properties in Park Plaza 1. If you're familiar with Tulsa, you know that about half of Tulsa is Park Plaza. So if I just type in Park Plaza 1, since it says contains, it would pull Park Plaza 1, Park Plaza 2, Park Plaza 3, 4. So if I want just Park Plaza 1, after I type it in, and it is Roman numerals, contains, I would make it say is. Okay, Park Plaza 1, so it would be subdivision is Park Plaza 1. I didn't get any results, but if there was any, then it would pull those up. Another thing that you can use this for is, let's say you're utilizing mapping, and mapping's covered in the second class, but the idea of mapping is you draw your search area and it pulls the results in a particular area. So let's say your client says they want to live right here, but they don't want to live in this subdivision within that area. You can change the operator to is not, and then type in the name of the subdivision. So then if you drew an area on the map, it would pull all of the properties in that area except for properties in that particular subdivision. Now, some of the operators you don't need to change necessarily. For example, number of bedrooms. If you want to search 3 or more, you would just come in here and type a 3, you would type nothing in the other box, and then it would return 3 or more. Now, if you want it to read differently, you can change it, and you can click your operator and choose or more. But it doesn't modify the search at all. It still means the same thing because the box that was on the left is minimum, the box that's on the right is maximum. So that one is just kind of a waste of time change. But if you prefer it to look like that and read that way, you have that option. Now I'm going to move on down to another field, garage description. We have 2 garage fields, garage capacity and garage description. Garage capacity is how many it holds, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Garage description is the description, attached, detached, carport, that type thing. All right, so if we come to garage description and we click the operator and then we click the pull down, you see you have an option that says advanced. Some of your fields, a few of them, have an advanced option. I'm going to go in and select advanced, and that's going to pull up the advanced garage description window, and this gives me the ability to make that field criteria read however I want it to read. Maybe you have a client that says, I want to attach garage with a carport, but I want to make sure that it's not rear entry, something like that. So you can choose attached and move it over, and then you can choose and we said they wanted a carport, and move it over, okay? Attached and a carport. But if they don't want rear entry, I can choose rear entry and move it to this lower section where it says must not include. So this would pull everything that has an attached garage with a carport, but it is not a rear entry. So however you want to make it read is fine. Now keep in mind that this is based on how the agent enters the listing. So if the agent doesn't enter that there's a carport, or if they don't enter that there's rear entry, or that there's not, that may adjust your search. So I'm just going to click OK right there. So again, every field has an operator, and you can make them read however you want. So anytime if you're pulling up results and they don't seem to make sense, kind of pay attention to those operators. Make sure that they do read the way that you expect them to read, or modify them if they don't. Okay, so that's the operators. I'm going to move on to the next section. The next thing that we're going to talk about is the Tools tab up at the top. When you hover on Tools, you have an option that says Settings. So we're going to go to Tools, Settings, and then we're going to go over to Search and Report Defaults. This gives you the ability to change the way the system defaults for you and your login. When you come in here, you see it says Edit Defaults For, and you have all your property types listed there. So we can change the saved search, meaning when I hover on search and I click residential, what search do I want to come up? We have it defaulting to the default search that we built for you, but you may rather build your own search and see that every time you click on residential. So you would go in, you would save that particular search and make it look however you want it to look, and then you would select it from your list of searches. Then every time you click on residential, it would be your default search rather than the one that we set up. Results grid. When you click on results, what grid do you want to see? I already showed you when we were on the grid how you can modify the default, but this is another place you can do that. All of your grids are listed. You would pick the appropriate grid, and then that's the one that you would see when you click results. Full detail view. When you click details, which report do you want to see? We have it defaulting to the agent only one page because you all like to print, and so that's the one that people typically want to see. But again, if that's not what you want, change it to something different. A full public view, that's not a feature that we use in this MLS system. The next one, email view. Whenever you choose to email a listing, which report do you want automatically selected to email? We have it defaulting to the public full because most agents prefer to send the full information to their client. Now, if you screw all this up, you can click the Restore to System Defaults button, and that'll change it all back. Okay, if you hover the Home tab, you'll see a few options here. One of them is Online Help. So anytime you have a question on how any questions about how the system functions or zip form, you need help desk support, you can click on Online Help. You can come in here. There's a whole database full of information. You can type in your question. There's video tutorials like this one. There's also question and answer text type information that you can pull up in here as well. They're all categorized by particular topics, or again, you can type in your question right here. Also, when you hover on Home, you'll see Financials. When you click Financials, that'll open a separate tab or window, and you'll have your financials. There's your buyer closing cost, seller's net, amortization schedule. This isn't anything that we typically cover in class because you're the one with the real estate license. You should know how to fill these out. Basically, you fill in the blanks and you click on Calculate. So if you don't know what goes in the blanks, you can talk with your broker about that. As far as the other tabs across the top, we've already discussed the first three. The Contacts tab is covered in the Fusion 3 class. We already discussed Hot Sheets. CMA is covered in the Fusion 2 class. Public Records takes you to Realist. That's your tax system. We have a separate class that covers the Realist tax system. Reports, you do not have that tab. Documents takes you into the Doc Manager program. That's where you can upload the documents for your listing, like the disclosure, disclaimer, lead-based paint. Store takes you into the online store where you can purchase third-party products like Cloud CMA and other products like that. Whenever you're ready to log out, you can just close your browser. The only time really that you need to click Sign Out is if you've made changes on the home page. It will not save those changes on your home page unless you click the Sign Out button.